Okay, let's try and unpack this a bit. Picture a river, if you will. You see some boats, and they're just gliding along smoothly.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, exactly. But then you see others, right, and they're caught in these, like, eddies, maybe hitting the banks.
Yeah, struggling.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the real difference there? Is it just about, how hard they're rowing?
Or maybe something deeper, about how they approach the water itself.
Right. And for you listening, as you navigate your own river of time, this deep dive is about finding a more skillful way. Less struggle, maybe more flow.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, how we often think productivity just means doing more?
Constantly pushing.
Yeah, relentless activity. But the wisdom we're exploring today, it sort of questions that.
It asks if just piling more on really gets us where we want to go.
Exactly. Does it bring fulfillment?
Which brings us to the core idea, really. This perspective that effort needs direction, intent. Think about those days you're just flat out busy, right? Juggling everything.
Oh, definitely.
But at the end, you feel like, did I actually do what mattered?
That resonates.
So our starting point is this idea of right effort.
Samavayama.
It's not just the amount of energy, is it? It's the quality, the direction.
Precisely. Like focusing sunlight with a magnifying glass.
Yes.
Scattered, it does little. Focused, it can ignite something.
So for you listening,
Yeah.
where is your energy going right now? Is it really serving your sort of deeper aims?
It's like the archer analogy. Strength is important, sure.
But without aim.
The arrow misses.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And this is where it gets, well, really interesting for me. Our culture seems to celebrate being busy, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Full calendars as a status symbol.
Yeah. But this view challenges that directly. It asks, are we just confusing motion with progress?
Are we so caught up in the doing?
That we forget to ask if we're doing the right things.
Like digging furiously but in the completely wrong spot.
Lots of effort, zero harvest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this really brings up the question of motivation, doesn't it? Our underlying purpose.
Without that clear purpose, where does the effort go?
It's like leaves in the wind, isn't it? Scattered. Going nowhere specific.
Building a house with no blueprint.
Lots of work, maybe, but the result. Probably not what you hoped for.
That archer image, it really sticks. It's not just pulling the bow hard.
No.
It's that stillness before, the focused gaze.
The intention.
It makes you think how often we just launch into action without clarifying the target first.
We skip that step.
So for you listening, what's one target you're aiming for right now? And is your effort truly aligned?
And it's fascinating. This applies to everything, not just big goals.
Oh.
Even making a meal? Are you present? Cooking with care?
Or just going through the motions. Yeah, I see that.
Intention makes the difference.
So if we want to cultivate this right effort, it sounds like we need to be more discerning.
More selective about where we invest our time, our energy.
It almost feels like simplifying, which is counterintuitive, isn't it? The world telling us to do more.
It is, but it's about identifying what's truly essential.
And then dedicating ourselves to that properly.
Wholeheartedly, without chasing every shiny object that drifts by.
Okay, so what's one shiny object, maybe one distraction, that you could gently set aside today to focus?
That's a really key insight. It's a shift, isn't it? Quantity to quality.
From being driven by external noise?
To acting from inner clarity.
Yeah.
Choosing our battles consciously.
Realizing we don't have to say yes to everything.
Exactly. Not every invitation needs accepting.
Okay. So directed effort is key. But it feels like there's something underneath that, a foundation.
There is. Our sources talk about these invisible roots.
That phrasing caught my eye. Invisible roots.
Like a plant, right. It relies on that unseen network for stability, for nourishment.
And for us, that's our habits, our routines.
Exactly. The daily patterns, they form the hidden structure supporting everything else.
The things that maybe don't feel glamorous, but are fundamental.
Absolutely fundamental.
And this is where mindfulness fits in, isn't it? Paying attention.
To the present moment, yeah. Without judgment.
Noticing those subtle patterns, the little habits that either help us or
hinder us, often without us even realizing.
And that awareness, that's the power, right? It lets us gently nudge things.
Guide those patterns in a better direction.
So for you listening, what's one small habit, maybe unconscious, that might be impacting your focus?
And what's insightful is how mindfulness cultivates these strong roots.
How so?
Imagine tending a small garden daily. Watering, weeding.
Little acts of care.
Over time, those small acts create fertile ground. Mindfulness does that for our inner foundation.
That's a beautiful image. Gentle, but powerful. It's not about huge overnight changes.
No, it's steady, consistent cultivation.
I like that practical idea too, just taking a few moments each day to observe
Thoughts, feelings.
without getting swept away. Like a little inner inventory. We've tried that. Just pausing to notice. It can be really revealing.
Yeah, it absolutely can. By simply observing, we create a bit of space.
Space between impulse and action.
Exactly, allowing for more conscious choices, like watching the weather without getting blown over by every gust.
Okay. And then there's this idea that sounded a bit stark initially, renunciation, but framed as the art of saying no.
It makes perfect sense in this context, protecting our focus, our energy,
About stepping back from things that don't really serve us.
even if they seem appealing.
Yeah, even then. Have you ever felt that pull? To say yes, knowing deep down it would stretch you too thin.
Many times. But renunciation here isn't about deprivation, you see.
Right.
It's about liberation, freeing ourselves from unnecessary burdens.
So we can dedicate ourselves more fully to what matters.
Exactly. Like a traveler shedding excess baggage, the journey becomes lighter, easier.
I can definitely feel that weight sometimes. Too many obligations.
Mm.
So that question, does this truly align with my values, my goals? Before saying yes, that feels practical.
It's a useful filter.
Saying no becomes an act of self-respect then, honoring our time.
It creates a container for our energy, allowing it to deepen, become more potent where we choose to focus it.
What's one area where you might practice a little more skillful no?
That's a good reflection for everyone.
Okay, so we've got directing effort, building the foundation with habits, the power of no. Now we hit something that seems unexpected for productivity.
Ah, yes. The paradox of emptiness and the art of letting go.
Right. Emptiness doesn't exactly sound like a recipe for getting stuff done.
Well, what's fascinating is that emptiness here isn't a void. It's not nothingness.
Okay.
It's potential, spaciousness. It's the clearing that allows new things to arise.
Like clearing clutter from a room.
Or clearing the mind. Letting go of fixed ideas, expectations. That actually makes us more open, more creative.
Ah, like a still pond reflects the sky perfectly.
Exactly. But when it's agitated, stirred up.
The reflection is distorted.
Yeah.
Our minds get so cluttered, don't they? Worries, regrets.
No room for clarity, no space for fresh ideas.
We need to create some stillness. Empty the cup a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a time you felt overwhelmed and clarity came just from stepping back, letting go of some mental baggage?
It happens. Our tendency is often to cling so tightly, isn't it, to plans, expectations.
Which can actually get in the way.
It can hinder progress.
Mm.
Real productivity sometimes arises when we learn to work with what is, not resist the flow.
And this connects to non-attachment, right?
Mm.
Not being rigidly fixated on one specific outcome.
Yes. It's not about not caring.
No, but holding goals lightly. Understanding things might not go exactly to plan.
Precisely, like holding sand too tightly in your fist.
It just slips through your fingers, yeah.
Have you ever found that intense focus on one result actually made it harder?
Definitely. It creates tension, anxiety.
It highlights how fluid reality is. If we're too bound to one outcome, we miss opportunities, get discouraged easily.
So adapting, flowing with things that can actually lead to better results.
Paradoxically, yes. And certainly less suffering.
I also really like the idea of approaching tasks with a beginner's mind.
Ah, Shoshin.
That sense of fresh curiosity, like seeing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm. It breaks us out of rigid routines, opens us up.
To new ways, new solutions we might have missed.
We get so easily trapped in assumptions, in our expert routines.
When was the last time you really looked at a familiar task with fresh eyes? What did you notice?
Beginner's mind invites us to shed those limits, embrace wonder. Even mundane tasks become discoveries.
So practically, how do we cultivate this letting go? That idea of reflecting at the end of the day.
On what we can release. Worries, frustrations.
Yeah, unfinished things we can't do anything about right now, like mental decluttering.
It's a helpful practice, creating conscious pauses.
Moments to acknowledge what's present without judgment.
And then intentionally letting go of what's no longer serving us, yes.
Setting boundaries seems crucial too, especially with digital stuff.
Yes, protecting our time and energy is part of letting go of distractions.
And even just taking a deep breath, consciously releasing tension.
That's a small act of letting go in the moment, absolutely.
These little intentional acts add up, don't they?
They cultivate a greater capacity for release. mental emotional clutter,
So this idea that real productivity isn't about forcing.
but creating space for things to unfold.
That's a huge shift.
It's about aligning with natural rhythms. Growth often happens in stillness, in reflection, as much as in activity.
Okay. Directing effort, building foundations, letting go. It's painting a different picture of productivity. Now, the shift to impermanence and the urgency of now.
This can be a powerful motivator.
Initially, it sounds maybe
But
unsettling. Everything changes, nothing lasts.
it can feel that way.
Right.
But it also carries this profound message about how precious each moment is.
Because it won't last.
Exactly. It encourages us to be truly present and make the most of the time we have, like a sunset.
Yeah. Its beauty is partly because it's fleeting. It makes you think how fast time goes. Are we really investing it well in what's deeply important?
The present moment, as they say, is the only one we truly have.
How often do you find yourself really in it? Not lost in the past or worrying about the future?
It takes practice. But what's powerful is how this awareness of impermanence can cut through procrastination.
How so?
When you truly grasp that time is finite, it forces the question, if not now, when?
Right. It adds a gentle urgency.
Like recognizing each breath is a gift, not guaranteed.
That's very grounding. Each breath. Back to the present. It makes you think about those things we put off, those someday dreams.
Maybe someday isn't coming.
So now is the time. For that first step, at least.
It can be the nudge we need, even if we don't feel perfectly ready. Move forward, even in a small way.
What's one small step you could take today towards something you've been postponing?
That's a potent question for reflection.
So how do we harness this urgency without just getting stressed out by it?
Well, reframing helps. Seeing tasks not as endless burdens.
But as opportunities.
Yeah.
To engage, learn, contribute.
Exactly. Even mundane tasks become chances to practice presence, intention.
Washing dishes is a mindful act.
Connecting with the water at the task. Why not?
And reflecting on mortality. Sounds heavy, but maybe useful.
It can be a powerful clarifier of priorities.
Imagining time is limited helps strip away the trivial. Focus on what matters.
It can, yes. Have you ever tried that kind of reflection? What came up for you? It can really align daily actions with deeper values. Help discern what deserves our precious energy.
Incorporating small reminders seems gentler, like noticing the seasons change.
Or the sunrise, the sunset, simple rituals.
They ground us in the natural flow, keeping the awareness alive without being morbid.
And foster gratitude for the moment.
And knowing challenges are impermanent too. This too shall pass. That's huge for resilience.
It is. It helps navigate difficulties knowing they won't last forever. Change is inevitable.
Can you recall a tough time when knowing it was temporary brought some comfort?
It provides perspective, doesn't it? Even the darkest night ends.
It bolsters courage, stops us feeling overwhelmed by temporary stuff. So embracing impermanence, it really focuses effort and appreciation. Now, the final piece, the ripple effect, connecting our efforts to something bigger.
Yes. Considering how our actions extend beyond just us, impacting the world around us.
Interconnected.
Like a stone dropped in a still pond, the ripples spread out, affecting everything.
That's such a clear image. Our small actions have consequences, create waves. So approaching tasks with kindness, awareness, it's not just for us.
No. It contributes to a more positive, harmonious environment around us.
Have you ever seen a small kindness have a surprisingly large positive effect?
It happens often. True productivity, from this view, becomes a force for good.
For ourselves and the wider community.
Recognizing our well-being is tied to the well-being of others, deeply intertwined.
That idea that our efforts can contribute to a larger purpose, beyond just our own achievements, that feels really meaningful.
It does, like we're all part of this intricate web.
And our actions either strengthen or weaken the connections.
It underscores that efforts are most meaningful when aligned with compassion, with a desire to contribute positively.
Even just being fully present in a conversation, really listening.
That has ripples, making someone feel heard, valued. It's not always grand gestures.
No, often it's the small, consistent acts, isn't it?
Of mindfulness, of kindness, they create the biggest change over time.
And reflecting on the impact. Are my actions helping or harming? That adds an ethical layer.
It encourages mindfulness of consequences, intended and unintended, striving to align efforts with wisdom, compassion.
Visualizing daily tasks as offerings, contributions, That could change how we feel about mundane stuff.
Approaching work as service transforms routine tasks into meaningful expressions of our values.
Yes, that story about volunteering, seeing the direct impact, that really brought it home.
It shows how even small investments of time, energy create real change.
Have you had times where your actions rippled out positively in ways you didn't expect?
It happens. It highlights that our actions are never truly isolated, always part of a larger web, cause and effect.
So even if we feel insignificant, starting small, one area where we can contribute positively,
Relationships, work, community.
those consistent, sincere actions build up, create powerful ripples.
Knowing even one act of kindness plants a seed of positive change. That's a powerful reminder of our potential, our interconnectedness.
Okay, so right effort, mindful habits, letting go, the urgency of now, interconnectedness, leading finally to this idea that true productivity isn't just about results.
But about liberation, a deeper sense of freedom,
Exactly. The ultimate aim isn't just external achievement.
but inner liberation. Freedom from suffering, from clinging, from the illusion of a separate self.
So true success is measured differently. By inner peace, clarity.
By what we cultivate within and contribute outwardly, yes.
And this loops back to the river, doesn't it? Not just navigating skillfully.
But finding ease, flow within ourselves, regardless of the currents.
Finding that serene source inside.
And to reach that, detachment from the fruits of action is key.
Focusing on the effort itself, the present engagement.
Rather than being driven purely by desire for a specific outcome.
Yes. So act wholeheartedly, with intention, care, but hold the results slightly.
That detachment frees us from anxiety, paradoxically. Allows for more joy, more natural expression.
Can you recall a time you were totally immersed in something, not worried about the outcome? What was that like?
It allows for greater freedom, creativity, unburdened by expectation.
So maybe the ultimate measure isn't what we achieve.
But the degree of inner peace and freedom we find along the way.
A shift from external validation?
To internal fulfillment. Recognizing liberation isn't in what we get, but in what we release.
And finally, this journey. It's ongoing, isn't it?
Yeah.
A continuous unfolding.
Not a fixed destination, which is both humbling and hopeful.
It encourages embracing the present, imperfections and all.
And trusting our capacity for growth, for transformation. Approaching life with curiosity, gentle perseverance.
Recognizing every step, every intentional effort contributes. Okay, so let's just gently gather those threads again. We talked about right effort, aligning actions with intention.
The significance of mindful habits, those invisible roots.
The liberating power of letting go, creating mental space.
The urgency and preciousness of now, fueled by understanding impermanence.
And the interconnectedness, how our actions ripple out, contributing to something larger.
Ultimately pointing towards greater freedom, liberation.
It's beautiful how they all weave together, isn't it?
Offering a way to engage with life, with work, that's both effective and deeply meaningful.
Prioritizing peace and connection, not just accomplishment.
Precisely.
So here's a final thought, maybe something to carry with you. Looking at your own river of time, what one small eddy, maybe one persistent rock, could you start navigating with a bit more right effort today?
Trusting the flow, perhaps, instead of just straining harder at the oars.
Yeah. Just consider how these ideas might gently shift your approach. Maybe true productivity. It's less about what you do.
And more about the quality of your presence, how you move through your life.